Here we go in 3, 2. The quick fire 5 answers are brought to you by CEO of Work on Your Game, Dre Baldwin. Dre, welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Dori.
Oh, absolutely. All right, we're going to get started. Your first question is, what is a life lesson you learned from the pandemic?
That a lot of people are very quick to let somebody tell them how to think and what to do. And that is the antithesis of what I'm about and the Work on Your Game philosophy is about.
Perfect. Good answer. I like how you incorporated your own mantra in there. That's awesome. And number 2, I can't wait to hear your answer on this one. If you could play a character in any movie, what character would it be?
I don't even watch a lot of movies, but one of my favorite is Ocean's 11, the modern version. So I'd be Brad Pitt. I'd be Rusty in Ocean's 11.
What guy doesn't want to be Brad Pitt, right?
I don't know if a lot of black guys want to be Brad Pitt, but I just like the character in the movie.
You can be anything you want to be, right? You can be anything you want to be. All right. Please complete this statement for me. Sunday morning, you can find me
taking a walk through downtown Miami, as I do every Sunday morning.
All right. Good place to take a walk. And
Yes.
Here we go. What is your number 1 book recommendation for our FBP family?
48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, my favorite book of all time. It is just a book that tells you everything about dealing with other people, some of the Machiavellian traits that other people will have, and the fact that not everybody has your best interest in mind. They have their best interest in mind. You have to learn how to navigate that world.
Okay, good choice. And finally, here is your chance to pitch to our FBP family why they should come back next week to hear your episode.
You should come listen to this episode because my background is as an athlete, but I was able to transition from the sports world over into the business world through my ability to extract the value of the tools that you need to succeed in sports and apply them to work in everyday life. So even if you're not an athlete and don't plan on becoming one, understand that many of the traits that you admire about athletes come from a series of principles that are transferable to all areas of life. I've learned how to extract those and articulate them. And that's what you're going to learn in this interview that me and Dori have next week.
All right. You heard it right from Dre, everybody. Tune in next week as Dre Baldwin comes back and he talks about getting yourself together so your business grows. Okay. Section 1 done. Very nice. Good job. Okay.
Great. Good questions.
They're fun. We change them up. Every once in a while. They're fun. I love to hear everybody's answers. Some people are like super creative. The TV character right now or the movie character, it's like 80% of people are picking a superhero right now because of all the Avengers. So I love the fact that you did.
I couldn't even name one of them.
Yeah.
I don't even know who they are.
I love the fact that you didn't pick one. So you went with Brad Pitt. Okay, main interview, 20 minutes long. You have the questions there in front of you. I'll try to stay on, but sometimes if you say something, sometimes I'll ask you to follow up a little bit more on that. But, I'll try not to like trick you with anything. I try to keep it on cue.
Well, I don't usually go off of the questions, honestly. So whatever you want to ask, you ask.
Okay,
questions.
all right.
I don't try to memorize answers or anything like that. So
good. Some people, it's funny.
Yeah.
Some people, man, they're like, if I like deviate, they're like, hey, whoa, wait a second. Like that's not on my sheet. Some people read.
No, I don't do that.
I'm like,
No, I don't do that. I take live Q&A from the stage when I speak. So whatever you ask me, I'm ready for it.
Okay. All right. Let's
Yeah.
here. Okay, let's count us down and we'll get started. I do edit the show. So if we need to stop, I mess up. I stumble sometimes. So sometimes I'll stop and restart. Same thing for you. If you want to restart, just stop, let me know, and we'll just re-go again as I always edit every show.
Okay.
Okay, I'll count us down. Here we go. In 3, 2. Hey, FBP family, get ready to be inspired, to get fired up and become a better leader after today's episode, because I bring you Dre Baldwin, CEO of Work on Your Game. Hey, Dre, welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Hey, Dori, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I have to just tell everybody out there listening how you and I got connected because I love how this happened and how this all took place. I one day open up my emails and I get this email from Dre Baldwin. I open it up and you were super uber creative and you made a video and you actually sent me a YouTube link to a video where you talked to me and basically said, "Hey, I'd like to come on the Fitness Business Podcast." But it was done through a video and you used my name, you made it super personable, and you told me all about yourself. And I just got to tell you, hats off to you on that. I totally grabbed my attention.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad it worked.
It did. It did. I mean, I showed everybody. I showed my husband. I reached out to JT, which is the owner of the podcast. I'm like, we got to get this guy on here. I love this. He's a go-getter.
Well, yes, I'm glad that produced the result. So, hey, JT, how are you?
He'll like the shout out. So speaking of a go-getter, I just want to let everybody know your background is absolutely incredible. You are CEO of Work on Your Game, which I'm going to just ask you about that in a minute or two. You've done 4 TED Talks. You've written 28, 29 books, correct?
29.
29
Yes.
books. You have your own podcast, your website. I'm a website, like I love websites. I know this sounds funny, but I love a good website. You have a beautiful website. And you're a blogger. I mean, you're a lot. You do a lot. Your resume is quite impressive.
Well, thank you. I've been working on this stuff for a long time. I think I have my proverbial 10,000 hours in when it comes to content creation. So it's fun to do, and good thing is we can make money doing it. So I love it.
I absolutely. I saw you've been a blogger since 2005, and you also have a YouTube channel that you've been working on since 2006. I see you have 137,000 subscribers.
Yeah, there's a lot of people a lot more than that. To some people, that's not even that many. But
I would take
yeah.
just half of that. I'll take half of that. So to say you're a baller is actually kind of pretty on point because you did play professional basketball for many years overseas.
Yes, I did. Fun experience.
Yeah, it sounded like a fun
Yeah.
experience. So I have you on today. You're going to talk a lot just about leadership and how to just grow yourself and just trying to teach people to become better at what they do. We're calling this episode Getting Yourself Together so your business can grow. And I'm really excited to ask you a couple questions so our audience can get to know you better. Are you ready to go?
All right. Ask as many as you want. I like
All right.
questions.
Okay, here we
Yeah.
go. First question, Dre. You're a former pro basketball player. What would you say are the similarities between being a pro athlete and a pro leader in your business?
Number one is the performance culture. In professional sports, you must perform and you must produce results to keep your job. If you don't perform in sports, and first of all, when you play sports, everybody's watching you every time, every day you're at work. So just imagine that any of you who works in an office or you work from home, imagine if there was a camera and 20,000 or 100,000 people are watching you every single day when you're at work. You would probably show up a little bit differently, and you might scrutinize yourself even a lot differently. So that performance culture of sports, you can't hide in pro sports. And if you're not performing, it's clear to everybody and there's no story to be told. And at the same time, you're judged strictly by your results. The great thing about the sports world as compared to any other aspect of life, Dory, is that we have a scoreboard. So it's it's the closest thing to a meritocracy you're going to find in sports. Whereas every other area of business outside of sports is extremely subjective. It's based on people's opinions, it's based on feelings, based on relationships. Sports is not like that. It is based on your ability to perform above everything else. There's still politics and there's still people, but if you can perform, then it really doesn't matter. All those other things, not as much. So the number one similarity is that you have to go out and perform. You have to deliver every single day. And the great thing about an athlete, sharing that with someone who's a non-athlete, is that we don't have any choice but to perform. So the mindset principles and the internal principles that we must have in order to perform as athletes. Any athlete who can codify that and explain it to someone who's a non-athlete, you should be listening very closely, because those principles have to work. Because if they don't work, then that athlete would never have become an athlete.
Absolutely. Now, again, I talked a little bit when I introduced you about your website. And what I loved about your website is when I opened it up right away, it kind of explains and defines who you are. And it says, Dre Baldwin teaches the discipline, confidence, mental toughness, and initiative to your work and life that puts you in the top 1% of performers. Now, when I read that, I'm telling you, I was raising my hand going, sign me up. I love that.
All right. Well, we'll definitely sign you up. We got a few things we can sign you up for. So one at a time.
I could use it. So again, when just kind of combing through your website, I saw two catchphrases, and I'd like for you to kind of break down each catchphrase. The first one I saw was the third day and beyond. And the other catchphrase that I saw was super you. Could we start with the third day and beyond? And could you explain to our listeners a little bit what you mean by that?
Sure. So we can let's use the gym as an example. So let's say someone didn't get a chance to work out a lot, maybe because their area was on lockdown. They couldn't go to the gym. That happened everywhere. So let's say you finally decide you can get back in the gym. You have your new workout gear, your new sneakers. You got some clothes from Lululemon to pop the tag off of. You're ready to go. New workout system. Maybe you hired a trainer. You bought a 25 pack of boot camp classes. You're ready to do this, and it's voluntary. So it's not like anyone's forcing you to do it. This is by choice. So that first day in the gym, even though you're excited, the workout's pretty hard, right? Because you haven't worked out in a while, so your body's not used to it. So going through that workout is kind of tough, and the workout kicks your butt because you haven't been doing this for a while. You're not conditioned for it. So at the end of that first workout, you drag yourself home, look yourself in the mirror, but with as much enthusiasm as you can muster, you say to yourself, hey, I'm back and I'm doing this. Now, the second day, the workout's a little bit harder because you have all the fatigue from day one combined with the fact that you're still not in, quote unquote, game shape just yet. So you have to really push yourself on the second day, and the trainer's not going to let you slack off because this is just your second day. But you get through the workout. I mean, it still feels pretty new to you. The novelty is still there. It's kind of like the second day you drive a brand new car. It still smells like a new car, right? Even though it's the second time you drove it. Drag yourself home, look at yourself in the bathroom mirror, and with just a little bit less enthusiasm, you say to yourself, hey, I'm doing this. Now, by the third day, Dori, by the third day, you are questioning your entire decision-making strategy. You're questioning this entire process. You're wondering why you signed up for the gym again. You're thinking about maybe firing your trainer. You're thinking that maybe you're still within the 10-day cancellation period. You might just cancel your gym membership and get your money back. Your body and your mind are having a difference of opinion. Your sneakers feel like they're made of cement. This is the kind of day where you roll over in bed, grab your phone, you text your trainer and say, listen, just charge me for the session, but I'm not coming in. All right, that's the third day. The third day is not about the gym. It is not necessarily 1, 2, 3 days in a row. And it's not necessarily anything physical. It's also much more mental than it is physical. It can be emotional. It can be spiritual. The third day is any situation where the newness has worn off, the novelty of the situation is completely gone, and you realize that this thing that you signed up for is not all fun and games, is not one big party, but you're going to have to actually show up and do some real work. And there's going to take some real grit and some real mental toughness to get it done. And what the third day is about is not necessarily the situation, it's the decision, the choice that you make in that moment of how or if you are actually going to show up. That's what the third day is about. And the reason why I say that the third day is a decision that separates the pros from the amateurs is because that's what makes a pro, is their ability to show up and deliver consistently. Like I said earlier in an earlier question you asked me about performance and results culture, professionals perform consistently and you can predict their results. Professional work is predictable. It's like if a pipe bursts in your home and you call the plumber because you know they're consistent, that they're going to come, they're going to fix the problem, you won't have that problem ever again. That's what you want from a professional, something that you can predict and you're going to get a result that you can see it before it even happens. And that's the difference between the pros and the amateurs. Amateurs can do it, but they don't do it every time. The pros do it every time. That's the third day.
All right. Well, I love that. It's such a great analogy. And as you're talking about it, I'm kind of going through my mind different things that, yes, I've signed up for those fitness contests or, whatever it may be. And you're right. By the third day, you're kind of like, you kind of lost the
Right.
enthusiasm. We're doing a contest right now within the industry with ALS, Augie's Quest, and our sponsor, MyZone, have paired together, and kind of the same thing. First day, I was like, all right, let's go. Woohoo. Second day, I'm like, all right, got this. But you're right. Third day, I was like, I don't know. Maybe we'll go tomorrow to the gym. So
Right. Exactly.
at least for me, completely relatable. But I have a feeling a lot of our listeners out there were nodding their head, totally in agreement with you. All right. What about
Absolutely.
Super You? What can you tell us about Super You?
Well, the Super You is about unlocking and living with your highest level of confidence. The interesting thing about confidence is that, even though my philosophy is it's 4 aspects of mindset: initiative, mental toughness, confidence, and discipline. Whenever I ask an audience, if you could change one thing about you, it has to be internal and has to be intangible, what would it be and how would you change it? And the answer invariably is, I want to be more confident. I want to have a higher level of self-esteem. I want to have a healthier self-image. So everyone wants to know, Dre, how can I be more confident? I don't care if it's in public speaking, if it's in podcasting, if it's in blogging, it's playing sports. Everybody wants to have more confidence. So first of all, let's get clear on what confidence is. Confidence is defined as a belief in your ability to do something. So where does that come from? What many people do not know, and this is the open secret to confidence, is that discipline creates confidence. So it's fitting that you asked me about the third day first, because the third day is about the discipline of showing up consistently. When you show up consistently, your confidence will inevitably go up. And if you really think about it, every really disciplined person you know is usually pretty confident. And every confident person you know is usually very disciplined. And they work together. When you're disciplined, you will be confident, because discipline is you showing up every day and doing the work. That leads to your willingness and the fact that you have earned the right to put yourself and put your work out there boldly and authentically, even if you're not sure it's going to work out. And that's what confidence is about. And the Super You specifically, I'll give you a quick anecdote here. It was a high school basketball player. He's playing on his team. He's a marginal player, maybe 10th best player on a 12-person team. So he's not that great. But one day in practice, the coach says to him, today, I'm going to make each one of you players pretend to be one of your teammates. So you're going to pretend to be him, you be him, you be him. He's telling each player to be somebody else all day. And the players are getting they're smirking about this. This is interesting. I get to pretend to be my teammate. And the coach says, whatever that teammate that you're supposed to be, whatever he does well, you do it. And whatever he does poorly, you do that also. Because I want you all to show each other who you are. So basically, imagine doing this at work or with your coworkers. So you know their bad habits. You're going to show them their bad habits. So the players are being assigned to be each other. This guy, who's the 10th best player on his team, his assignment is to be his teammate, Mike. And Mike just happens to be the best player on the team. So I always ask my audience, and Dori, I'll ask you. All right, this guy who's telling the story, his name's Tucker. How do you think Tucker played that day, where his assignment is to be the best player on the team, but his normal level is the 10th best? How do you think he played that day?
Definitely played differently, played with more confidence. He was a different person, no doubt.
Yeah, well, I set you up to get that answer, get it right. So, but the thing is, and what he did that day, he said he played ball better that day than he had ever played in his life. He's making all kinds of shots that he never even tries, doing moves he never does. His teammates are looking at him crazy, like, where is this coming from? And his coach at the end of practice says, man, if that's what it takes, you need to pretend to be Mike every day. And the thing is, he had tapped into what I call the Super You. And the reason that I give that example is because a lot of people, when we talk confidence, you hear people talk about fake it till you make it. I do not believe in fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it is an oxymoron. It doesn't actually exist, because when you tell your brain that you're faking something, that means eventually you have to stop faking. You have to go back to reality. It's kind of like everybody knows the story of Cinderella, right? She went to the ball with that beautiful gown, but when that clock struck 12, it went back from beautiful gown back to those rags. That's what happens when you fake it till you make it. Eventually, the faking has to end, and then you have to go back down. You don't want it to go back down. The Super You is about you, instead of faking it, you become it. It is who you are being as a person, and you can change your being in an instant, and you can keep it there for as long as you're willing to keep it there. And that is not fake. It's real. And the reason I use basketball as an example is because if you're being that Super You in the moment and you shoot the ball and it goes in the basket, you're not faking the ball going in the basket. You can't fake doing a move on a basketball court. Either you made the shot or you didn't. So that level of being is real and it's tangible. And it can stay there for as long as you wanted to. And that's what the Super You is about, is tapping into that level. You're not pretending to be somebody else. You are being yourself, just as your highest level of confidence and highest level of performance. And the best way to create that environment is through the third day. So the discipline creates the environment, the fertile soil from which the super you can grow.
So I'm sitting here feeling terribly guilty because I use the terminology meaning for myself about faking it all the time. I'm like, I'll just fake it. I'll be able to get through it. So, oh boy, I definitely think I need to sign up here for some of your coaching for sure.
Well, it's the same thing. It's just that you are being it. Because again, it's like your mind is taking everything, what's the word, literally. So when you tell yourself you're faking it, then your mind understands and knows what faking means. All right, eventually that you have to stop faking at some point. So why don't you just become it? Because you don't ever have to stop doing that.
All right, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on that.
I can help you.
I love the fact that you talk about confidence. I love this kind of talk. This is right up my alley. But I'd like for you to just kind of maybe go in depth a little bit more. What do you do when you have that person that isn't confident, that 10th man on the basketball team that isn't showing the confidence? How do you get somebody to believe in themselves?
Great question. What a person can do, to go back to that concept of becoming it, is you can borrow your confidence. So this is the alternative to fake it till you make it. And here's the difference. Borrowing your confidence would mean something like, can you give me the type of person that we're talking about here so I can make this relate as best as possible to your audience? What do they do for a living? Where do they want that confidence at?
Well, okay, so I'm talking about maybe somebody that's an introvert and they're just let's use the gym, okay? So you have an introvert personality and now they need to walk into the gym, and that's really hard for somebody that's introverted. They're walking into an environment that it's loud, front desk is like, "Hey, Dori, how you doing?" And you're just like, "Oh, I just want to hide. That's not really who I am." And a lot of times in the gym, you lose the introverts because they're just they don't have the confidence to walk in and learn how to use equipment that they've never used before, walk into a group fitness class that they feel like everybody knows one another and there's a clique or a community within a group fitness class. So that's probably where I'm coming from.
Okay, good question. So what that person would do is ask yourself the following. The most confident person who's walking into that gym, if it's not you, that's the introverted person, I would ask them, who's the most confident person that walks into this gym? Maybe they don't know, but I would say just based on your inferences of what you see and what you think the gym is about, when the most confident person who comes here walks in, how do they walk in the gym? What is their mindset around going to the gym? How do they feel about the gym? Even if they're not in their best shape yet, even if they don't have the big muscles or the slim figure or whatever it is you're after, they don't have it either, but they still have a certain level of confidence. I'll ask them, you've seen people like that, right? They don't have the level of fitness that they want to have either, but they still have a level of confidence that exudes from within them that you don't know where it's coming from, but it's there. You can feel it when you see that person, right? And they would say, yes, they've seen people like that. So I would say to them, I want you to put yourself in the frame of mind of being that person. I want you to think how they would be thinking. What do you think that person is thinking to have that kind of energy? And then I want you to temporarily have that same kind of energy. Give yourself that same energy. Give yourself that same perspective. Give yourself have that same something, that something coming out of you that other people can just feel and you can see when you look in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror and position yourself like that. Stand up like that type of person. Make eye contact like that type of person. Walk like that type of person. And in that moment, what they are doing is becoming that super you. Because all I'm asking them to do is think about the most confident person that they can think of, and then you become that person right now. Don't fake it. Actually become that person. And what this person is going to realize is that most confident version of themselves, Dori, was already in them, because the only way they can do what I'm asking them to do is that they have to have the ability to do it. I could tell you anything, but you still have to go actually execute it. So when I say stand up like the most confident person in the room would stand up, and then you straighten up and your shoulders go back and your chest goes out and your chin goes up, what is that telling you? It's telling you that you already knew how to do that. You just weren't doing it. All I did was unlock it and uncover it for you and allow you to notice that you already had that ability. Now, all I ask you to do moving forward is to remind yourself more often that you have the ability and keep doing it to the point that it becomes habit. That's all I would ask that person to do. When you walk as the most confident person, people see you as confident, because other people don't have time to dig deep into who you are as a person. We all go off of surface level appearances. So whatever you show to other people, they're going to perceive you as that. and they're going to treat you as the way you present yourself. So if you present yourself as not having confidence, people are going to treat you as if you don't. And if you present yourself as having confidence, people will treat you as if you do. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If people treat you like you have no confidence, you're going to feel worse. They treat you like you do have confidence, even if you don't. They're going to treat you as if you do. You're going to feel better because they're looking at you like you're a certain type of person that maybe you don't even think you are, at least not yet. But as you keep doing it, it becomes habitual, and you will start living up to other people's expectations. Because as they say, you live up to the expectations of your peer group, or down to the expectations. And you set the expectations for them by the way that you walk into the room, metaphorically speaking. So that's what I would tell that person to do, to stand up and walk in there as if you're the most confident person there, even though you may think that you're not, but you're being it. You're not faking it, you're being it. Keep doing that consistently. I would give them actually a series of habits and rituals that they can do on their own every day before they get out of the car in the parking lot or before they leave the house, so that they can feel like that they're doing it every single time to the point that they're not even thinking about it anymore, and it has become habitual.
Really good points. I like that very much. So I'm going to take it one step further. You are obviously an online coach. You've made a wonderful business for yourself, coaching entrepreneurs, leaders of business, people like that. Let's take it now that we have a lot of personal trainers out there listening, and they're working directly with a client most of the time, not all the time, but a lot of times they're working with a client with low confidence, a lot of overweight. Their clients are overweight. Their clients are deconditioned. Maybe their client is coming back from an injury. If I was a personal trainer looking to you for coaching advice on how I could connect better with my clients, what would be maybe one or two pieces of advice you would give trainers out there?
For the trainer trying to connect with the client who doesn't have the confidence?
Yes.
The number one thing is you have to get on the level of the person that you're working with, because if let's say I'm an athlete, I am an athlete, former pro athlete. So if I'm working with someone who doesn't even know their way around the weight room, they don't even know, if I say go get a weight plate, they don't even know what I'm talking about. All right, they're not going to relate to me if I'm talking to them from my level as a pro athlete. And they can look at me and say, all right, this guy knows his way around the gym. I don't. How can he help me? They have to understand that you, as the trainer, understands how they feel. Even if you never have felt like that, even if you've been in shape your entire life, what you need to do is converse with them and find out, how do they feel walking into that gym? And they should feel like you understand them. So this is the empathizing side of it, because any of us who sells anything, you have to be able to empathize, because if your client, or your prospect rather, not a client yet, if your prospect doesn't feel like you understand how they feel, then they're not going to do anything with you, even if you have all the information. Because there are plenty of people out here who have information, but we don't buy from them because we don't feel like they understand who we are as a person. And we all care about how our perspective much more than we care about anybody else's. So number one is you need to feel how your client feels, understand how they feel, and let them know that you understand how they feel. And the simplest way to do this, you don't have to be a therapist to do this, because I'm definitely not, is you ask them questions, continually ask questions, open questions that allow them to talk, and then, very simply, use their language back to them. When you use someone else's words back to them, they will not even know that you're doing it, even if you're doing it on purpose. They won't even notice that you're doing it, and they will feel like you understand them. And all you're doing is just repeating back to them what they just said. And you can do this in a tasteful way, not like a robotic way, like they say hi, you say hi, not like that. But as long as you're using their words back to them, they will feel like you understand them. They'll feel like you're on the same page as them. You can mirror and match them. You can do this physically as well. And when two people get on that type of wavelength, even if you don't even have to provide any information. I'll give you an example. I was at a lunch with a friend of mine. He's a trainer. He trains in martial arts. But he wanted to sit down with me and talk to me about some relationship type stuff that he had going on. And we're sitting there eating, and he's talking about his relationship and what's going on with this and that and all this stuff. And I swear to you, Dori, during this conversation, we talked for about 2 hours. All I did was ask him maybe 4 questions the whole time. I did not offer any information. I offered no feedback. I did not give him any of my opinions or advice. He would talk for about 20 minutes. I would ask him a question. Then he would talk for another 15. Then I'd say, yeah, that makes sense. I understand. Then he would keep talking. I asked him 4 questions the whole time. At the end of that 2 hours, he looked at me and said, man, you're a great therapist. I didn't say anything. I didn't offer him anything. The entire conversation except my ears and my attention. That's it. And when people feel like you are listening to them, because something else, especially in the world that we have today, everybody's broadcasting, right? Everybody's a content creator, everybody's a broadcaster, everybody's a reporter. Nobody's a listener. If you just listen to people and show them that you are actively paying attention to them and listening to what they're saying, and just repeat back some of what they're saying so that they know you're listening, they will love you forever because you're one of the few people on the planet that is not talking to them but actually listening to them. So that right there, if you just start doing that, any trainer who's listening to this right now, start doing that with your clients right now today. I guarantee you'll build a deeper relationship and you don't have to offer any of your knowledge.
All right, perfect. We're going to end it there. That was awesome. Thank you. That was so cool. That
Sure.
time went by so quickly. All right. So next we are going to move on to it's a sponsored segment for us. It's called the Fitspitspiration question. And I'm going to read the question to you. You go through your 3 tips for us to lead our business. And then when you're done, I'm not going to say anything. It's just literally, I'll ask you the question, you answer it, and then we'll be done with that segment.
Okay.
Are we good? All right, here we go. Dre, what are your top 3 tips for us to lead our business?
Number one thing to lead your business is you have to lead yourself. And what that means is you have to have your own stuff together. Simple things like making your bed, like taking care of those dirty dishes that you had in the sink. All the stuff that you know that you're supposed to do, those little things that we sometimes put off, make sure you're taking care of those, because subconsciously, energetically, spiritually, if you know that you're not taking care of those little things, then you do not show up with the same level of integrity and confidence that you need to lead other people. So that's number one, you have to lead yourself. And at work on your game, it always comes back to number one, which is the person in the mirror. Number 2 thing to lead your business is you have to give your people and your organization, they have to have somewhere to go. We need a mission. Everybody needs to be on the same page as that mission. And in order for people to get on the same page as the mission, there must be a mission. What is the outcome that we're all looking to achieve? How do we measure our success? How do we know that we are moving towards that success? Everyone needs to know exactly what it is. It needs to be clear enough that everyone can understand it. Everyone can repeat it back. And if I was to walk into your business and let's say you have 20 employees and I stop the lowest person on the totem pole, the maintenance guy, and say, what's the mission of this business? If they can't tell me, then your mission is not clear. It needs to be clear to you. It needs to be clear to everybody else, and everyone needs to know it and understand it, and simple enough that anyone can get it. Even if I just walked in your business for the first time, I should understand it and have a good idea of what it means just from hearing it from you one time. That's the second thing, is the mission. And the third thing to lead your business is you got to find people that you actually want to lead. What I like to tell people in the coaching world or the training world, even, the best trainers have the best clients. And the best coaches have the best players, right? Phil Jackson was a great coach in the NBA, but he had the best players. He had Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. John Wooden, one of the greatest coaches of all time, wrote a lot of books on leadership. They said to him, Coach, what made you so great? What made you win so much? He said, it's simple, had the best players. The best trainers in the gym are the people with the best clients. In other words, the people who will show up to the gym, actually do what the trainer asks them to do what they're supposed to do away from the gym, go to sleep at night so they wake up and they're ready for their sessions, show up to the sessions, do what the trainer wants them to do. The best trainers have the people who are most willing to do so. As a coach or a trainer or any type of guru or expert, I am only as good as the people that I'm working with. So I have to be selective about who I'm working with, because I don't want you to bring my average down. I don't want you bringing my percentages down. I can't turn garbage into gold, but I can help gold look good. But you have to meet me halfway, meaning you have to be willing to do what I'm asking you to do, because if you're not, you're going to make me look bad and I'm going to look like a bad trainer, when the problem is not that I'm a bad trainer. The problem is I just signed up the wrong client. So understand that trainers do not make miracles out of you. You have to meet them at least halfway. And what I call it, Dori, is the 51-49 rule. You, as the person who wants the help in any area of life, you must own at least 51% of responsibility for that help. And then the people that you enlist to help you, they can do up to 49%, but you need to own at least half. I mean, more than half, a majority stake in your success. So those are my 3.
Okay, those were 3 good ones. All right, final piece, and then we're done. Our time together is soon over, and that's just going to be a wrap up. So,
okay.
All right. So count us down. It's just a little wrap up. I'm going to just ask you a little bit about work on the game. Okay. And then we'll say goodbye. Here
All
we
right.
go. In 3, 2. Well, Dre, I have to just admit, I have absolutely been looking forward to getting you onto the podcast and interviewing today. I'm completely inspired just by all of your work. Your YouTube channel is just crazy. I mean, the amount of content that you put out is incredible.
Oh, thank you.
So I
Appreciate it. Glad you've been watching.
Oh, I've definitely been watching. So I think my biggest question for you on that just is where do you get all your content? Like, you speak so well, you speak so passionately. Where are you pulling on this content from?
That's a great question. It's something that I wrote an article about this, but I'm getting content 24/7. I'm always getting content. So everything that happens in life is content for me. So if I go to the pizza shop and they mess up my order, I can make an article out of that and I can draw it back to my content. If I go to the UPS and the person at the counter is rude to me, I can make some content out of that. If this conversation that we're having right now, I can make content out of something that happened in this conversation. So everything that happens, I have conditioned my brain to think of how can I connect this to, how can I make a podcast episode about this, or where's a lesson that I can draw from this that I can put in video that somebody can learn from, or maybe if it's just a tweet, or it can become a caption on an Instagram post. I've conditioned myself to do that. Everything becomes content, and as long as I can figure out an angle to direct it back to what my overarching philosophy is about, I'll make content out of it. So where do I get my content from? Every single thing that happens.
All right, so I'm going to pay attention to your YouTube channel, and if the next YouTube episode comes out, I think I'm going to be completely let me start over. I'm going to pay attention to your YouTube channel, and I'm going to be totally self-conscious if I think it has something to do with our interview today.
Well, I record way in advance, so it might be 2 months from now if I did make something about this, but you can just keep watching.
So one more
Hope
thing.
you remember.
Yeah, right. One more thing before we go. Just tell me a little bit. I actually probably should say, tell our listeners a little bit about work on your game. What's your mission behind that?
Sure. So it just started from basketball. I was talking to a lot of basketball players maybe 12 years ago when I first came out on the internet. It was all basketball content and all athletes watching me. And they would just ask me questions about how can I get better, give me some tips, give me some advice. And one day I just made a video and I was just thinking about those questions that I kept getting asked. And I was recording the video in a gym myself. And I said to the players on the video, I said to these players, I said, well, you all keep asking me, how can you get better? Well, look at what I'm doing right now. I'm in the gym practicing. Look at what you're doing. You're on YouTube watching videos. So what you need to do is stop watching YouTube, stop playing Xbox, stop standing on the corner and go work on your game. And when I said that, I wasn't trying to coin a phrase. I was just talking. But people heard that phrase and they loved it so much, they started repeating it back to me. And then a year or two later, I trademarked it, and now the rest becomes history. But work on your game is all about taking the mental tools that help you get to the top 1% as an athlete and applying them at work and in everyday life. So these days, the majority of my clients are not athletes, and they come from all different industries. But the main thing that they all have in common is that they do have game. It's just that they believe they can get more out of their game. That's like why I said on my website, trying to get to that top 1%, because you can do pretty well in the top 80%. Right? But they want to get to that. They want to be in that 99th percentile of what they're doing in life. And that's why they come to me.
All right. Well, everybody out there listening, please, if you just want to improve your game, or should we say work on your game, make sure you check out Dre Baldwin. Like I said, just Google his name and you'll see so much information. You'll easily be able to get to him. And also you'll be able to go in our show notes, as we will have all of links to Dre as well. So you can check him out and even reach out and contact him. Dre, thank you again so much. And since it's your first time being on the Fitness Business Podcast, I'm just going to say it. Hey, welcome to the Fitness Podcast family.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I was excited to be here, and hopefully this won't be my last appearance.
We're done.
All right, perfect.